It was a little bit of mixed emotions because I was turning 18.
There's definitely that sense of excitement about turning 18, but then a sense of uneasiness about what the future might hold.
So I turned 18 1 month before my HSC was supposed to start, and I was freaking out. So I was thinking to myself, like, who's going to be there when I need someone?
I've heard stories where people who have been in foster care, they end up down the wrong path, and as soon as I heard that I was like, oh, what if that happens to me?
I think the average age of leaving home is around 26 at the moment in Australia. Here we have young people who have come from backgrounds of neglect and abuse, so a bit more behind the 8 ball, haven't had those good starts, and yet we're booting them out at 18, say fend for yourself.
Jasper is 17 years old and living in foster care. He's in a stable home, but he's watching closely as those around him, also in state care, hit the big 1-8.
So there's definitely those worries that once you turn 18, you're going to have to make your own way straight away.
We can't identify Jasper for legal reasons. At 18, young people in foster or residential care are legally required to leave care. This usually means finding their own accommodation and becoming financially independent.
You have to move out, be more independent, and sometimes that support's not there. When you're living with your parents, you always have them to fall back on if things go wrong.
If I wasn't 18 and if I wasn't in foster care, I wouldn't have moved out. I probably would have moved out the age I am now because I'm a lot more mature. I finished school, so I've got a full-time job now, so I would have been more prepared to move out on my own.
Carla is now 21 years old. When she was 18, part of her was really looking forward to being independent.
I was also excited to be out of foster care because it's just so much weight on your shoulders being a foster kid, and explain to everyone that, oh, I'm a foster kid and all that. But it was also, child protection felt like a safety net as well, so yeah.
In her first year out of care, Carla faced some challenges. She felt unsafe in her new house, decided to move out, but was then homeless for 6 weeks. She moved from couch to couch, worried that she was becoming another statistic.
I really didn't want to stay in a homeless shelter. I was like this close to staying in a homeless shelter. That means I've proven people right, that people who have been in foster care end up homeless and in shelters, and I don't want to do that.
The stats for young people leaving state care are pretty dire. More than a third will experience homelessness within the first year. 2/3 won't complete high school, and their unemployment rate is nearly 3 times the national average. But this is something that service providers like Anglicare are hoping to change.
And it's completely unrealistic to expect young people who have had histories of state care to make it out on their own when they just turn 18.
The UK, the US and even New Zealand now offer extended support beyond 18.
What we'd like to see is that the ability or the option for a young person to remain in that foster care placement with the agreement of the carer through to 21. Or for a young person exiting something like a residential care unit, they're provided with a support worker and a house and guaranteed resources through to 21.
Hey Cassie.
Hi Lil, how are you today?
I'm good, how are you?
Good.
Cassie and Lily have known each other for 7 years. Cassie was the coordinator of the residential care unit where Lily spent her teens.
So what happens if you're in a house on campus and like you signed into a lease? What happens if you get in there and you don't like your flatmate?
Oh, I love Cassie. So she was kind of like a mum to me. Like I always knew she was going to be there 9 to 5, Monday to Friday. If I'd gotten into trouble, you know, she would straighten me out.
When she turned 15 and then 16, Lily began to worry. Not just about having to fend for herself, but about being legally separated from youth workers like Cassie.
In New South Wales, there's actually a law, like once you turn 18, they're not supposed to have contact with you until you're 25. So until you're completely out of the service. And I think it's just like a conflict of interest or like a professional boundaries kind of thing, but it can be really hard. Like if most of the youth workers were with me for like 4, 3, 5 years.
Luckily, in 2014, Cassie became the head of a pilot program that would provide extended support for Lily and others beyond their 18th birthdays.
Some of the things I've provided support with could be hiding the cat when they've had a house inspection, helping them clean the house for a house inspection, providing support when their young person's been sick, either taking them to the doctor, sitting at the hospital with them, doing workshops on cooking, cleaning, budgeting, car maintenance.
If I have like a really bad news, I always know that I can call her up and talk to her and she won't judge me, and she'll just be there to say, okay, it's alright, stop crying, it's good, you'll be fine.
Lily is now 20 and preparing to transition to full independent living. She recently got her licence with Cassie's help.
Well, driving represented to me just like the freedom and independence, like you don't need to rely on anyone.
She's got a goal, she's got a plan, and it's just seeing her confidence grow. Lily's going to be okay, yeah. She'll have a bright future, and I look forward to seeing it.
I know most of the people my age are still living at home. They can have the option to live with their parents, like without the worry of like intruding, or I have always support where people I can go back to anyway, but you just feel bad asking.
Longer support and more structured support would be better. Let the young people know that there's definitely something there for them afterwards.
We've got to finish off the job. We've got to care for these young people and make sure they're up and running by the time they're 21. And I think that's a reasonable expectation for a state care system to have.